don't get it. I don't I don't I don't get it. I I don't get it. The robot turns into a building. I don't get it. Franz Ferdinand and Sparks piss off. Oh, okay. Sure. That's no, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't See what I try and do? I try and move my microphone and everything goes to shit. All I did was this. Damn it. I just want to move my microphone. Leave me alone. Yeah, that's what you needed to hear tonight. Me banging in the microphone a whole bunch. Before that, Jonathan Colton. The future soon. We had the horrors. Sheena is a parasite and Men at Work. Who can it be now? Radio Dead Air. Taking your request, something you want to hear. Send it to requests@radiodeadair.com. We'll try and get that on for you. Got about another 40 minutes. We'll have What the Fuck is Wrong with You live. We have stories. We do. We have many stories. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's been a week, guys. I swear. Oh, I'm trying to think about the fun shit I can talk about. It gets a little harder every time. But I'm trying. Just to go ahead and remind you, Saturday we have RDA Tech Q&A. If you have tech questions that you think Mike and myself can help you out with, go ahead and send those to requests@radiodeadair.com. That's Saturday night, 9 p.m. We'll be taking care of that sort of stuff. Also, tomorrow night, Mass Effect 2 continues, which is so much fun. That's so much fun. We're going to have... I've loved jumping back into Mass Effect 2. It's my favorite Mass Effect game, and I'm getting reminded constantly of why. It still makes me laugh. It still takes me by surprise, and I enjoy it. It's been great. Yeah. That's tomorrow night, 9 p.m. over on Twitch. Hope you'll join us for that. And I've got some weirdness for later. I'm like, should I break glass on the weirdness now? It's weirdness I've done before, but I'm feeling like, should I break glass or should I save it for later? I think I'll save it for later because it's good weirdness. Some of you have never experienced that sort of weirdness before. So what have I been watching? I've caught up with the Venture Brothers, and I gotta say, we're almost the end of season 7, which means another 2 years till season 8. This week's episode was baffling. It wasn't necessarily bad. It was just kind of all over the place. I'm not entirely sure what they were going for or where they're or why it's just it. I hope there's a payoff next week is all I can say, because it was just kind of weird. It's still a great show, and if you haven't caught up on it, you should. If you're looking for something to watch, it's right there. It's sitting right there in front of you. Now word is coming out. I guess we could talk about this. Word is slowly leaking out because the embargo has been dropped. I believe the embargo just dropped 20 minutes ago. Venom It looks like, from all accounts, that Sony opted to be like, well, we can't use Spider-Man. We can't really do a Spider-Man story. All we have is Spider-Man's bad guy. Fuck it. It seems like it's the movie just didn't care, because they're like, this is a fucking naked cash grab. Let's just do whatever the fuck we want to do. And word is that Tom Hardy, his performance in it, he didn't give a shit in terms of taking it seriously. There's some slight subversive nonsense going on. And you know what? I can buy that. Because where were they going to go? What were they going to do? It's like, here you go. You get to make a movie about one of Spider-Man's most infamous villains, but you can't use Spider-Man. You can't connect it to Spider-Man in any way, shape, or form, even though the character's powers are based on It's like trying to do Bizarro the movie without Superman, without any mention of Superman at all, without any inclusion of Superman, without any explanation of why Bizarro talks backwards. Just no connection. Telling the story of Bizarro without... How ridiculous would that be? And it looks like the people making the movie understood, yeah, this is pretty damn fucking ridiculous too. Let's just go all in. Why not? Why the fuck not? Worst thing could happen? We'll make some money. Everybody knows this is why not? And I can almost respect that. I really can. I was musing the other night that with something like this, it would have been really interesting to just go for broke. It reminded me of back when, and I say reminded me, I wasn't alive then. Long ago, Jack Kirby had finally had it the fuck enough of Stan Lee and Marvel. And he left Marvel for DC Comics. Now, this is Jack fucking Kirby. He's a goddamn legend in comics. He was a legend in comics back then. And going from Marvel to DC was a just ridiculous coup for DC. And they're like, so, Mr. Kirby, can I call you Jack? Jack, what title over here at DC Comics do you want to work on? Do you want to work on Superman? We'll give you Superman. Jack Kirby. Or maybe it's Batman? We'll give you... Do you want the Justice League? Jack Kirby. And Jack Kirby said, I want to work on Jimmy Olsen. What? Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen was one of the comics they were publishing back then. They published a lot of those. Lois Lane had a comic, and there were a whole lot more comics back then. A whole lot more titles. Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen was kind of a jokey, weird book. And Jack Kirby said, I want to work on that one. This is the guy who redefined... The man was comics. And he wants to work on Jimmy Olsen? The comic book about Superman's sidekick? But he took that comic and he made it a must-read book. It was insane. Just came out of nowhere, and Jimmy Olsen exploded. And then later on in the 80s, DC Comics had over in the UK there was a huge comic scene going on. All these creators were getting noticed for their work on specifically 2001 or 29, what was it called? AD. The Judge Dredd compendium book. God, it slipped my mind right now. Yeah, it's they just call the book a whole bunch of other stuff and also Judge Dredd. There was a bunch of stuff going on in England. A lot of creators were coming up like Garth Ennis and Alan Moore and Grant Morrison. 2000 AD. That's it. That's the one. All of these up and comers, these upstarts, and they were really making a name for themselves. So DC Comics decided to try and coax some of them to work for them. It was a little thing they called the British Invasion for comics. And the first big one was Alan Moore. And they said, Alan, what do you want to work on? And they gave him Swamp Thing, which was this close to being canceled. It had a brief revival after the Swamp Thing movie, and then it slowly started tanking. And then they put Alan Moore on it. It was this nothing book, also ran. Alan Moore got on it. It became one of the biggest comics, literally, in all of modern comics history. Swamp Thing was an amazing turnaround. Same thing with Animal Man. Animal Man was a superhero, another one of those C-list also ran characters from like way back in the day. And Grant Morrison did an Animal Man book. And Grant Morrison's Animal Man, if you've never read it, is one of those books I like to recommend to new people new to comics, because it is a breakdown and an examination of comics as a medium, what they are to themselves, what the business is to it, how the writer reacts to its own story. It was really a whole bunch of meta narrative stuff, and it's spectacular. So what's my point in all this? Well, here we are with this glut of comic book movies. Every week, a new comic book movie is coming out. Sony has got all of these side Spider-Man books, but they can't actually use Spider-Man, but they're making movies out of them. And my thinking is, these are naked cash grabs. We all know they're naked cash grabs. These movies are going to go nowhere and do nothing. They're going to have an opening weekend and then crater. So, why don't you do what comics did and put really talented, young, up-and-coming, hungry writers and directors on these books and give them the creative freedom to go nuts? And maybe we could actually get to a point where we're what, 10 years into the Marvel era, and then however long we are past, well, Burton's Batman, I think, was honestly a point this whole thing got underway. Maybe just an introspective, self-aware look at comic book movies. Give that to some. Could you imagine Grant Morrison writing and directing the Venom movie? What that should... Here you have a character who is in a movie. His entire reason for being is he is the nemesis of Spider-Man. He is the antithesis, the mirror version of Spider-Man. And yet, he can't even say his nemesis's name in a movie. Can you just imagine how just mind-blowing that kind, just self-aware observation, fourth wall breaking. Now that I'm not talking fourth wall Deadpool talking to the audience, nodding and winking. I'm talking just a new way of looking at these comic book movies. Because why not? What do you have to fucking lose? It's a Venom movie without Spider-Man. Come on. Giant size man thing. All right. We have lots more to come tonight. It is almost time for What the Fuck Is Wrong With You. That'll be up at 11:30 tonight. What are we going to do? Still taking requests. Something you want to hear, send it to requests@radiodeadair.com. Okay, we can do this one. We can do this. I said we can do this. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. By request, here's Pink. Stay tuned. Live What the Fuck Is Wrong With You is on the way. Radio Dead Air. Da, 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 da.